Before I started this channel and started doing everything productive, I was a major video game addict. I remember there was a time in summer break of 2022 during COVID where I went to play video games 3 whole days without even saying hello to my parents. I played video games for 3 whole days and barely exchanged a word with my parents. I was a major addict and it ruined me in my life. It is probably ruining your life as well. And I make this video so that you not only get a warning, but a set of instructions, next steps, so you can break this cycle of video game addiction and truly conquer the world. Because as soon as you let go of video games for 12 hours a day, you have already surpassed 90% of the people in your class, in your friend group. As soon as you reclaim all this lost time, you will never go back. I promise you. But before we get into that, I want to first give you a good explanation of why video games are bad. Because deep down, you already know this. You're probably coping right now, but you probably already know that they're bad for you, right? But I need to give you the black and white picture of why exactly they're bad. Now, the first reason is that they siphon away every single drop of energy, every single drop of your motivation, and put it into video games. Think about it. You spent, 30 hours in the past 2 weeks playing video games, right? At least. In summer vacations, probably 30 hours 40, 50 hours a week playing video games. It's like your full-time job. But then what do you have left for the real world? When you go to school, what are you thinking about? Are you genuinely thinking about grades? No. You're thinking about how you can crank, how you're going to level up this weekend and celebrate with the boys. You're not going to be thinking about how to build a better physique when you can already change your avatar in Roblox. Energy that you put into one place is going to be taken from somewhere else. When you put 25 hours of your life into video games, guess where you're taking that time from? From your family, from developing yourself, from leveling up and beating the competition around you. Video games are like the drugs of this generation. They siphon away all of your energy. Every second that you're not playing the video game, you're watching somebody else play it. During COVID, you had all the time in the world, 75 hours a week, where you could do literally everything that you would desire. You could work on yourself, your business, your class, your intelligence, your fitness. But instead, what did you do? You spent 90 hours every week relentlessly grinding on that video game. You let your relationship with your family suffer because you wanted to level up. But think about it now. What if we took all of this energy that you're putting into video games and you put it somewhere else? You put it maybe into your career. Maybe you put it in your school career. Maybe you put it into fitness. Maybe you put it into both. Now all of a sudden, you're putting 30 or 40 hours into building a nice physique, into working on yourself. And guess what happens then? You start making progress in life and you start beating the people around you. You see, look back to when you're grinding for a certain level. Look back to the last time you were playing video games a few hours ago. What exactly were you doing? You were pretty much just grinding out a certain level, a certain aspect of the game. Maybe you were grinding on your strength or your damage level, so you started doing more damage, or you levels up your character so all of a sudden they have more health. Or maybe you worked on your muscle memory so you can do all the difficult things with these. It works exactly like that in real life. And once I realized this, everything changed for me, because now I put every single hour I was putting into video games and I put them somewhere where I was actually developing myself. I lost 12 pounds in 6 months because I put all the time I was putting into video games and I put them into fitness. And guess what happened next? I started making improvements. Now, you might be making that bullshit excuse like, oh, it's only 1 hour a day, bro. What are you talking about? No, it's more than 1 hour a day. What are you talking about? It's 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day. You've been lying to yourself this whole time because you've been programmed from birth to defend yourself. You've been doing all the bad habits since you were born. We've developed such denial against being called out about this that 90% of people who are watching this video have left. But if you stuck around, you probably know something's up. Video games have burrowed into your mind. They've siphoned away all of your energy and put it all somewhere which actually does nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's not just 1 hour, so stop kidding yourself. They make all the good things for you difficult. So think about it. Every time you're given a little bit of an urge to study, or maybe your parents are like, okay, go study now. You've had this thing like, man, why are all the good things so difficult? Why does asparagus need to taste so bad when it's so good for me? You wanna know why? It's because these games have been developed. These services have been developed to be hyper addicted for you. There are engineers who are paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do only one thing: addict you to their service. Imagine that. You are nothing to these people. You are another cog in their scheme for making money. And how do they make money? By addicting you. Now that they've been addicted, it's basically increase your baseline level so that it feels super good when you're playing video games, right? But as soon as you go off of video games, you're feeling kind of empty, right? You feel sort of hollow, like, oh, okay, now it's just kind of boring. So what do? You just play more video games now, because that's an option. So now your baseline is over here, and the good things are more like over here. So now you're like, nah, it doesn't feel good now. It doesn't feel good to work on the good things. So instead of doing the good things, because you're a slave to your emotions, you just keep on doing video games. So your baseline slowly, your expectations slowly get higher, and your baseline slowly gets lower. that when you're in the real world, which is your baseline, you feel so bad that you want to go back to what you expect. And what do you expect? There's all of a sudden going to be something new popping up in front of you. You're going to pick up a loot crate and suddenly you're going to be a millionaire. And what's the expectation now? To be hyper stimulated, to keep on leveling up just like that, just like that. Video games target your dopamine centers, and you already know what dopamine is. It's your motivation chemical. But here's the thing. Now that, let's say that this is your dopamine level. It's pretty much constant, right? As soon as you're playing video games, your dopamine spikes up here while you're playing video games, and then it goes down. And now all of a sudden, your baseline is down here. You were here before you played video games. Now that you played video games, your baseline is more like down here. And now what happens? Now that your baseline's a little bit more, you pretty much just depressed yourself a little bit because now you're less happy, you're less motivated to do things. So what do? You're like, oh, your brain thinks, okay, there's a lack of dopamine. Let's do something that gives us dopamine. Video games. Let's do more video games. So now you're down here and you want to get your dopamine levels high up again. So you go on video games, you're at a high here, then you go down, and now you're even lower than the camera now. Now what's happened is that you've pretty much kept on lowering your baseline until you feel like absolute garbage when you're not playing video games. So what do? You play video games so that you stay on that high. You need to remain high. You need to remain drenched in the feeling of video games 24/7. Do you know who also needs that feeling 24/7? Drug addicts. You've been programmed to become a drug addict, but now it's video games instead of drugs. So yeah, it's not as bad as heroin at least, but it's still bad. It's still awful for you. 30 hours of video games do not develop you. It slowly erodes your happiness, so now you feel like crap when you're not playing video games. So you need to go back on video games 24/7. The good things feel hard because you programmed yourself to only expect easy things. It's easy to tap a button and level up, right? But in real life, it's not nearly as easy to level up, right? You need to actually curl some weight. You actually need to study something. You actually need to read some books. But do you know what the payoff is of doing that? All of a sudden, you're actually winning in life. It feels so much better, now that I think about it, to be more fit than most of my class, or live like I'm actually a human, than it was to play 12 hours of video games a day and slowly erode myself and my health. Now, the third reason why video games are awful for you is because they've eroded your social life. Now, what do I mean by that? I play video games with my friends all the time. Your friends are fucking losers. Your friends are genuinely like aliens. They live like they're cavemen. They live like they're subhuman. Your friends are losers. Now, what do I mean by this? When you're attached to a certain substance, in this case it's video games, and you're doing it with somebody else, you're not actually craving to be around that person. You're craving the substance. When the friendship revolves around a substance and addiction, you're not friends with that friend, but with that addiction. We're not friends with those people. You're just friends with the game. When I got off of video games, which was about a year ago, I thought that my friends would be like missing me, like, oh man, Tharb's not there. Oh man. Sure, they were a little bit annoyed for a few days, but guess what they did next? They just forgot about me because they were never friends with me to begin with. They were friends with the substance. And that's the biggest mistake I made. I attached myself to these people through video games, and I wouldn't go off of video games because all my friends were doing it. Once you accept this, you'll realize that, wait, why don't I just get off now and start making friends in the real world? Now I have friends that play sports with me every day. I have friends that will study with me, who respect me. Video games don't give you that. Getting off of video games changed my life for the better. And I'm never going to go back. I lost 12 pounds in 6 months. My grades soared because all of the energy that I was putting into video games, now I was relentlessly grinding in real life, using that energy and that focus. You would be such a winner in life if you put all the time you're putting into leveling up in video games and putting that into leveling up in real life. You have such a great opportunity here. The whole generation is addicted. You look left, right, everybody's scrolling on TikTok and playing Fortnite. As soon as you stop doing those things, guess what? You're completely different from everybody else. You're so much better, and you're going to improve so much faster. You can go from being the fat kid to being the athletic kid in less than 12 months. But you need to start somewhere. You can't just snap your fingers and say, okay, I'm not going to be addicted anymore. So how do you do that? It's through this thing called dopamine detox. You need to reset your dopamine levels so that they're no longer all the way down here, and they're up here at your baseline. When you're not playing video games, your happiness is just boosted 100%. Through dopamine detox. Dopamine detox changed my life. It's changed everybody's life who's ever been on it. Because we live in such hyper-focused states nowadays that we never give our mind a chance to feel bored, to feel creative, to actually do something. Dopamine detox made me a happy person again. And I'm here to spread that result with you. I'm here to spread happiness for you. I'm here to give you the route to happiness. Dopamine detox is pretty much where you quit all of these non-essential things for a while. And sure, for the first few days, you're going to feel like, hell. It's gonna feel like hell on earth, trust me. But after a little bit of time, you're gonna feel like you're a god. You're gonna have so much more brain power because now all of a sudden your motivation's gone from here to here. You have nothing to lose. But what do you have to lose with video games? Hours of your day, years of your life. At this rate, playing 8 hours of video games a day, you are on track to lose about 20 years of your life. Just imagine that. You're losing 20 years of your life to something that you are addicted to. The world that we live in is fucked right now, honestly. But you can be so much better if you start doing what everybody else isn't doing. Go on your first dopamine detox today and comment down below how you feel. Because you're going to be the top 1% of people as soon as you do that. Just getting off of video games make one of the top 1% people in this world. Get onto your first dopamine detox and you'll never go back. So yeah, that's it. That's all I have for today. See you soon.